I'm Nick Van Waren. This is the Channel 4 News. In the next hour, I'll be discussing the tragic death of two former Navy SEALs, Google's newest invention, Google Glass, and our first story covering the harmful effects of smoking cigarettes and some of the organic compounds involved, nicotine and benzopyrene. With the possible miracle cure for the depression caused by nicotine addiction, a compound serine. Let's go to our reporter Kylar interviewing Albert Shuffleday, a world-renowned doctor that will inform you better on this subject.
That was a wonderful piece of music right there.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
So, Albert, what makes cigarettes so attractive to users these days?
Well, in cigarettes, nicotine is a drug that creates very, very strong psychological and physical dependence. This dependence makes you need to keep smoking tobacco even if you want to stop. It's one of the strongest addictions known to man.
Nicotine seems to have a very important involvement in cigarettes, and so does benzopyrene, which is a carbon smoke. Could you describe the discovery and history of this organic compound, nicotine?
Well, nicotine was first extracted from tobacco leaves in 1828, as far as I know, and many historians agree on this fact. Nicotine has also been used throughout history just through the smoking of tobacco plants. It was never really isolated until that date in 1828. The date really is unknown when first tobacco was used as a smokable item, as a stimulant, but it most likely precedes many millennia. Tobacco appears to be even a part of the healing arts and rituals of the Mayan priests, as we can see in many temple carvings.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. So, tell us a little bit more about the history of benzopyrene.
Well, benzopyrene has actually never really had a specific date of discovery, kind of like nicotine with the tobacco, even though it was extracted in 1828. In the 18th century, many chimney sweepers and fuel factory workers started getting different types of cancers, scrotal cancers, a little bit embarrassing, but it happens, and skin cancer. Now, these cancers' causes were unknown. The only thing that people knew is that these workers had them until really the 20th century. Then in the 20th century, around 1933, it was discovered through tests with lab rats that benzopyrene was a very strong carcinogen, classified as a class 1 carcinogen by the IARC.
Wow, can you tell me a little bit about the chemistry behind these two compounds?
Yeah, John, let's start with you. Go ahead about nicotine.
Okay, well, nicotine is a compound found often in the leaves of plants, especially tobacco, and its chemical makeup is C10H14N2, which is carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And not only that, but it's classified as a 3-pyridine.
It's also an alkaloid, a very potent alkaloid.
Yes.
Benzopyrene itself is a benzene molecule attached to a pyrene molecule. When it's metabolized in the human body, it splits. It is split by an enzyme, which is what goes into your DNA and causes cancer. Its chemical formula is C20H12. It's many carbon hexagons, in fact 5 of them, surrounded completely by hydrogens to cover the end bits, basically.
That's very interesting. So, how does benzopyrene relate to cigarettes?
Well, benzopyrene is found in burning wood, coal tar, and many other burning substances because it is just many carbons attached to hydrogens. The reason for this is that the extreme heat caused by the fire forces the pyrene and benzene molecules to fuse together.
And nicotine is mainly found in tobacco, right?
Correct. It's also found in other plants, but its primary source is tobacco.
And have either of these compounds been used for biological purposes for science?
Well, nicotine has been used for medication for hundreds of years, but other than that, it hasn't had a positive output.
In February 2014, actually this month currently that we're talking in, NASA announced a very upgraded database for polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, known in short, including benzopyrene. In the universe, according to scientists, more than 20% of all matter is a PAH. including benzopyrene, of course, in many of these substances. It's possibly one of the starting materials in the formation of life, which is very interesting. PAHs seem to have been found shortly after the Big Bang and are widespread throughout the universe, and are associated with new stars and new planets.
So, what are the safety concerns for benzopyrene and nicotine?
Well, nicotine not only can cause cancer, it also lead to liver damage, kidney damage, heart failure, tar in your lungs, and plaque even on your teeth, mal breath, and deterioration of your gums.
Benzopyrene itself is an extremely dangerous substance. When you come in contact with it and your body decides to metabolize it, it's very, very carcinogenic. It'll give you cancer very easily, and that's really its only negative effect, but its negative effect is very huge and very pronounced. Kylar, I know that in college you studied for a very long time organic compounds. Now, I'd like to ask you about serine, because I know that was something you did a very big project on. You, in fact, wrote a thesis on it. I'd like to know about how serine can cure the depression that is caused by nicotine addiction.
Well, first I'll just tell you a little bit about the history. It was first discovered in 1865. It was a protein inside silk. No one knows who discovered it, but they did make up the chemical structure of it in 1902. That's a little bit about the history of it.
You talked about the chemical structure. Can you please tell me its exact chemical makeup?
The actual makeup of serine is C3H7NO3. This amino acid aids in the production of antibodies and immunoglobulin, both of which are essential for a healthy immune system. In addition, the presence of serine is required to create tryptophan, which in turn is used to make serotonin, so it all starts with serine. Serotonin is used by the brain to regulate mood and depression and anxiety, and all of those are linked to either a lack of serotonin or tryptophan in the body. And one of the main uses of serine in the human body are to assist the function of the central nervous system as well as general brain operation.
So serotonin basically reverses all the negative depression and mood associated effects of nicotine effectively, and I assume safely. Are there any negative effects?
None that are scientifically proven.
That's very interesting. Has it been studied very much?
It has, but they haven't gotten very much research completed over it, so it's still
not very much data, I see. Alright, well that's wonderful, Kyler. And thank you very much, John, for coming here, helping me in this interview.
No problem.
Back to Nick.
Breaking news tonight. We've lost our beloved anchor Nick to a terrible wardrobe malfunction accident, causing him to suffocate due to his suit being too tight. I'm filling in for him in my office to finish up this night's round of news. As we just saw in that groundbreaking news story, the serine could be very well a cure to the depression onset by nicotine in cigarettes. We learned one of many dangerous carcinogens contained in cigarettes as well, benzopyrene. Albert Scheffelberg did a wonderful job being interviewed, and so did Kylar being the interviewee. They did a great job, truly. I'm sure Nick would have been proud. Nick told me that before, last thing he said before he went, he told me to say one thing. He said, if you do the news for me, tell everybody sitting at home watching TV that Miss Davidson is the best teacher ever. God, such the best teacher ever. Anyway, and continuing in tonight's news, we'll be talking about a new invention called Google Glass. If you want to know more about this amazing piece of technological innovation, stay tuned after this commercial break.